basically it's just a giant bridgehead for the subsequent invasion of other Canadian areas. These maneuver Gotta get off my little pencil. These maneuvers would not only streamline the invasion, but they would cripple Canada's industry by disrupting, the transportation of iron ore, grain, and coal, everything it needs for wartime. Now, within the Winnipeg area, U.S. forces would advance from North Dakota through the Grand Forks to capture the Transcontinental Railway's nerve system. The Transcontinental Railway is the foundation of Canada. It's just think of a railway that just travels from one side to the other over the border.
This is where the Canadian is.
Yeah,
All right, I
pretty
need to
much.
go there once.
Uh, in taking this junction complete, it's like cutting the country in two, basically, for supplies. And again, coal, grain, meat, oil, nothing's going east to west if you cut it there. For Vancouver, which is really the last thing on the list, like I can't stress that enough. It's not a big thing at this point. The Americans would invade Vancouver and Victoria. U.S. troops would advance from Bellingham along Route 99 exists today into British Columbia. They'd launch an amphibious assault to Vancouver Island from I guess, yeah, Port Angeles. And they would also capture Prince Rupert, its railway, the naval base at Esquimalt, preventing the United Kingdom from maintaining a foothold in Western Canada, which wouldn't matter. It would be the last thing on British minds at the time. To further weaken Britain, strategic plans also included inciting revolts for the Home Rule in Ireland, which we see that in World War One, World War Two. It kind of works. Get the Irish uppity, start pumping the IRA with money.
And and then Britain will send in Arthur Percival.
Yeah, and who better
Well, to
to
be fair, he was
support?
very effective there.
Who better to support an Irish uprising than get some guys from Boston to go over there? I mean, it would actually work out really well. Um, they would also try to
Well,
strike some yeah.
considering it was Sicilian mafia ties
Mhm.
of New York that helped with Husky, yeah, I can buy that logic.
Yeah. Gaurav, there was plans to incite revolts in British India too, because that was the seen as a second weakness. I don't know how they would do it.
I, considering I have very strong views about this topic, which if I say it out loud, I'm scared.
Yeah, don't talk about this. That's I know. That's that's the no-no stuff to talk about. But somehow the Americans would do something, and I don't know. I couldn't find anything on what they would do. I was actually interested. How would they deal with India? Because they say that they have a plan called Ruby. What were they gonna do? I don't know. It seems really
Um,
weird.
even I should try to think what would they do? Like, would they talk to the founders of the Indian National Congress, right? Like Nehru and Gandhi, or I don't know.
Yeah,
Like,
maybe.
just I'm just thinking out loud on the fly. Or are they going to say because, for example, well, it's not going to be like a military invasion because thinking like in World War
No.
II when they landed in Torch, right? They got a lot of gifts for the local population in North Africa.
I think it has to do with America's message on quotes, bunny ears here, about anti-imperialism. It'd be like, look, we're Americans. We don't colonize places like the Philippines. We are against Britain and what they're doing to you. You should rise up and you should form the United States of India. I guess that's what they would do.
That's pretty much what we are, anyways.
Yeah, so I guess they would just try to incite that. And you know what? If anybody could pull it off, well, I guess it would be better the United States than what Japan tried. That didn't go so well.
Considering no one joined their Mutiguchi's divisions.
And hey, I mean, like you go over to India and you're like, hey, we're a country that violently broke off from Britain, and we did it. We're gonna show you how to do it. Maybe, I don't know, maybe they would do something pretty crazy. Additionally, America aimed to disrupt Britain's trade access, through the Asiatic areas, Hawaii, the Panama Canal. There's a real big one the United States has to deal with because Britain's going to seize the Panama Canal for sure. There's also the Alaskan theater, definitely not a priority, but it's there. And ultimately, it's just you're trying to cut into Britain's trade because hurting Britain economically is what's going to win the war in the end. No, that's the American strategy. I want to talk about what Britain thought. Because Britain did not actually have, or we don't know, had an official war plan. But there were minds, certainly in the Royal Navy, that thought about it. Overall, the Royal Navy and their officer corps believed that if a conflict would arise, their primary objective would be to transport troops and supplies to Canada to defend against what would inevitably be an American invasion of Canada. Everyone could kind of see that's how it would go. A full-scale invasion of the United States was deemed far too unrealistic. A naval blockade would be possible, but very slow to do. It's just America's too big. So the Royal Navy would adopt a defensive strategy and rely on, waiting for the American fleet to try and leave safe waters in the Atlantic and just pounce upon them. But
Kind of what ABC tried with the Italian fleet in the Mediterranean
exactly,
during World
yeah.
War II.
The only problem with this is it kind of leaves the British maritime fleet vulnerable because they're almost baiting the Americans to come out at that point. Royal Navy officers recognized Britain was susceptible to supply blockades, and they feared should a larger American fleet approach the British Isles, because, maybe America could build stuff, who knows? The Isles could quickly capitulate if they were blockaded, as, we saw in World War One with the submarine fleet of Germany. So instead, the officers devised a plan to launch an attack upon the American fleet from, bases in the Western Hemisphere, like Bermuda, for example. In parallel, ships stationed in Canada and the West Indies could disrupt American shipping and safeguard, them bringing over their troops. The British strategy also included bombarding coastal installations, conducting small amphibious assaults, which would be really wild. I mean, I'm thinking Revolutionary War, stuff in Florida that happened, like that would be interesting. I don't think it would go well for
Okay,
the British.
what? Okay, just hear me out. But what if you had Jack Churchill leading the rings?
Jack Churchill. That'd be fun. But I don't know. I don't know if
Listen,
it'd go
if
so well.
if you have a commando playing the bagpipes and charging during a commando raid and chucking grenades, or saying an officer needs to have his sword going into battle,
Oh my God.
and he
Imagine
doesn't
him
have a
showing up
sword.
on a beach in Florida. He has his freaking sword and his bow and stuff.
It's a broadsword, like that Scottish, like
Yeah.
not a broadsword, but whatever that famous sword that the Scottish Highlanders use.
It wasn't a
Can't
clay.
recall
I
it.
don't think he had a claymore. I think it was
It was
a
said it
bastard
was a
sword.
claymore,
I think it was a
but
bastard sword he
just
had. I'm not
uh,
sure.
I've always read it as the claymore in all the sources I've gone through.
I'm trying to
I know he had a
see.
longbow as well,
I have a clay.
apparently successfully used in France.
I have a claymore. Oh, it's in my closet. Anyways, I can't bring it out right now. It's a fake.
Fair
It's
enough.
it's made in I think it's made in Pakistan actually, of all places. Yeah. I don't know. I didn't buy it. Someone bought it for me for some reason. My ancestry's from Scotland. But yeah. They would do, assaults. There was plans to just completely take over everything in the Philippines, Guam. Uh Britain was afraid that the Americans might try to attack Hong Kong, which would be bold. I don't think that would happen. But yeah, they had plans to defend their assets in places like China. Actually, I take that back. Given the American Marine presence in Shanghai, it's not unreasonable to think they might make a little jab at Hong Kong. The American Marines were significant in Shanghai. Yeah,
Like how
definitely.
many we are talking about? I
Oh,
guess where I'm comparing it is when
General,
Japan invaded, right? There was about a division's worth of troops.
this is gonna kill me. I interviewed the granddaughter of General Rupertus because he was a China Marine in the 20s. I want to say it's something under 20. It's like 10. It has to be 10,000 or less. There was a significant amount of troops that by the 1930s it escalated more, and there was all these things that had happened because there was like, for example, the first Battle of Shanghai in 1932. A lot of American Marines ended up coming over, and they had to help protect stuff because the French and the British didn't have significant forces. But anyways, I desist. There is American Marine presence there. Now, that covers everything for the British point of view, but I want to talk about the Canadian point of view. So, is the red writing still there? One sec. Can I?
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah.
There. So, I'll get my pencil back. This individual. right here. His name is, at the time, he was Brigadier James Buster Sutherland Brown, Brigadier General, excuse me. I'm just going to now erase this annoyance. There we go. It's kind of annoying using Zoom for this.